Charlotte area, Charlotte Mecklenburg, larger population for sure than Buncombe County. So that's Mecklenburg County. They open up the NASCAR racing tracks,
Of course.
and they vaccinate. Like people just drive through, and there's like 10 stations, and so most people who are 65 and above who want to have already have their second. Meanwhile, here in Asheville, so update from 2 weeks ago, or whenever we talked about this, I heard that many people who got their first, which is about, I think at this point, only 20,000, with about 50,000 still waiting. So, so many of the people who got the number one and also got later an appointment for number two got a call to say, sorry, number two is not available. Y'all can go check with Walgreens and see if they have any. So then Walgreens recently opened. So then people went to Walgreens, right? And the Walgreens website allows you, when they have, to register for one and two or for two. Now, so many people registered for two because of the people that the state told, or the county told, we can't do you for number two. So many people did two. Now you can't get the one and two. Like you would go, they'll let you choose the time. It'll show that there's an appointment for vaccination one. And then when you click the one, you got that. But then because there's no two available, they said you can't even get your one. So that's on Walgreens. The county one, forget it. There are people like on that waiting list, like 50,000 or something like that. Yeah. Good news is, before Walgreens got crazy, I got in the system.
Oh, very good.
So soon I too can live dangerously, more dangerously.
Oh my God.
So you haven't gotten a shot yet.
I got my one already.
You got number one. Okay. Yeah.
I got in the Walgreens system on Thursday morning. Friday afternoon, I got mine.
Okay.
So it's the Moderna.
I got Pfizer.
Ah,
I always got my first shot, I felt absolutely nothing, and I mean, not even my arm was just a little bit sore. Second shot, like that evening, I was deathly ill, but I guess it's worth it. And they dissolved my position at work, so I was like, well, at least they owe me this shot. So I got it in before
yeah.
I'd already
Okay.
started the process before they dissolved my position, so I went ahead.
Ah, so anyway.
Yeah, when you said NASCAR raceway, I just really had that image that you could just drive right through really fast.
Yeah. Depends on how good the
That'd be
person
great.
doing the vaccination is, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Kind of
I got some education on that. It's like the soreness comes from the skill of the person vaccinating you.
Oh.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with this particular vaccine, but any kind of vaccination, how sore you will feel is depending on, the person vaccinating. If they hit a muscle or a nerve, then it will be more sore.
Oh, I see.
And so,
But
because
it's excuse me. It's also whether you can sit still or not, and not
right, yeah. That's the other piece, of course. Even if the person is aiming right and you wiggle, then
Are there any bindus at that point? Is that the right?
right.
I've read that people over 55 are less are likely to have fewer symptoms.
Yes. And that one has to do with the vaccine and not the skill of the person.
Right. Right.
I guess it's based on your immune system. If the immune system is young and gung-ho, then it will work over time, and that gives all the symptoms, right? The aches, all those symptoms are basically symptoms of, ironically, your immune system working, right? And I'm just learning this. Like, so a lot of people died because their immune system was over vigilant. That's what killed them. Yeah, so it's weird, right? It's not really technically. It's not the virus that killed you. It's your immune system. Yeah, blasting the whole block off in order to get rid of two terrorists, so to say. And so, the effort to get rid of the terrorists was successful. Sorry, we destroyed your city. You almost feel like that on some level, right? There's something illustrative of like the problem of samsara. Your what was natural, right, to fight against went overboard and freak out and kill you, right?
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah, so that's there's something there to kind of illustrate a bigger how we respond. So often when we have problems, the problem is like the virus that comes in, but then our reaction to it overreaches, that then creates all that suffering. It's like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the true cause of death is just like the inflammation, right, in the body.
Yeah.
It has a role to play, but often it cannot control itself, or it's out of whack, it cannot regulate. Then a constant state of inflammation then brings up a whole host of other problems.
Yeah.
So not being able to respond appropriately. So the word I like to use, I'm sure you'll have noticed that, is how to skillfully apply the Dharma. Gampopa's point about how if you don't practice the Dharma skillfully, often translated as if you don't practice the Dharma right, but I think maybe skillfully is better. If you don't know how to handle the Dharma skillfully, then Dharma, can even something, that's the point, even something as good as the Dharma can end up causing harm. So to be able to skillfully, and that skillful requires a lot of kind of working through our understandings of what are the goals of Dharma practice. I think often it's all mixed up, especially in making the Dharma relevant to people's lives. There is some line there, I don't know where it is, but there is some line there between making it so relevant that it begins to move away from the original purpose of what the Dharma was given for. And it's easy for us to confuse all of that. Especially, right, most Dharma communities in the West would coincide with communities of, intentional eating, intentional consumption, intentional this, intentional that. And then we think that they are exactly the same thing, but not necessarily so. not necessarily so. There are, Milarepa's diet is far from healthy, for sure. It's far from healthy. Like, do not adopt Milarepa diet. Then just as like the opposite is like some lamas. They don't pay attention to their diet in the other direction. Over nutritious and very little physical activity. But then at the same time, if you look at them, quite literally 20 of their 24 hours a day, they are meeting people, giving dharma, So from that perspective, they have no time really to care about their physical health. Then there are those who are neither here nor there, neither Milarepa nor these lamas who seemingly overweight, but really spend at least 20 of their 24 hours. You can witness that they are helping others. Then there's a whole host that are in between, pretending to be Milarepa or pretending to be helping, but actually it's just laziness, an attachment to like yum 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 yum.
Yeah.
So when I wasn't feeling too good, several years back, my health, it kind of hit me and said, you cannot use, I'm busy with dharma as the excuse to not pay attention to your health. Because I know for sure I wasn't spending all that time on dharma or helping others. It was just laziness and not wanting to keep a discipline. Then it's very easy. You say, oh, I don't have time. I'm, practicing dharma, helping others, when it is not true. Then those of us who have not developed our minds so powerfully, so strongly, what happens to the body affects the mind. Again, like someone like Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, I think for the last maybe 10 years of his life, like whenever he was walking, two people like propped him up to walk. But the people who spent time close around him said, literally never saw him suffering. I'm sure, there was a host of health issues, but he never suffered. Yeah, but that's not our reality, when we are physically unwell, we are suffering, and then we cause other people suffering. And so then we don't have the excuse of like, oh, I don't need to take care of my body because, the body is just blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, if you're still tethered to the body, then taking care of the body can put you in a mental state that is a lot easier to purify the afflictive emotions. So then to that degree, taking care of the body is really important, especially for most of us. It's very much tethered to the body. So don't follow the Milarepa diet or lifestyle.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not at risk for that.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah. Anyway, so where are you all in?
Where are we?
We did wonder about the word Repa. And what
Repa is the cotton-clad Repa. Pa is just person. Re is referring to the cotton that they wear. Yeah.
Okay. So it was a tradition of people walking around in a loincloths in the woods and stuff.
It's like cotton with the connotation of like really coarse. Kind of in biblical terms would be like what is it, the sackcloth, you know. So it's something austere. It's something cheaply available. It's also not providing a lot of heat,
Okay.
not a lot of insulation, so to say.
Yeah.
So it's cheaply clothed. Yeah. Except that now, you know, like we sell like, you know, organic cotton robes, you know, that people will ask for to send back, you know, because there is a line there, you know, in the woven.
Right.
Of course, they should be able to send back if they pay $200 for it, you know. Just like, you know, chut. It's just ironic, you know, chut. The practice of chut. It's like said to be like the beggars, you know, way of practicing, but you have to be really rich to practice chut, you know, in this modern period. Yeah, because a drum is like, you know, $600. Yeah, and then a trumpet is another 200-300, right? And then the bell, and then, you know, pretty soon you're outfitted, you know, like 2,500 walking around to practice like a beggar, you know.
Yeah.
It's just ironic. All these fancy drums, you know, the skin is this and that, and the wood is this and that, and it's like, let's see. That is like the most decked out, accessorized, you know, Tibetan Buddhist practice. It's chut, you know. It's so, and I'm like, by the time you look the part, you know, that's like a lot of money already.
Thank you.
Of course, you know, I'm the guy selling the stuff, so that's the other level of irony. Some of the stuff that we sell, you know, inherited from the previous people who own the business. So I still find things, and I will say things like, why are people buying this? You know, and then my assistant was like, because we're selling them. I was like, yeah, that's also true, you know. Hopefully no one in this group ever bought this from us, but there's these things called purba case, you know.
Yeah.
Purba is like the ritual peg,
Right.
and you can get a case for it. I'm like, what? Like people like routinely travel with their purba? Like they need a holster for the purba? Like, what's the deal? It's like, but yeah, people buy purba cases. I was like, what? Like, what do you do with a? It's like a purba holster, you know. It's like weird, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess we sell them, so people buy them, you know.
It could be a shootout on Main Street or something.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this, like one time this guy, he ordered a bunch of stuff, and then like basically he was getting boompa, you know, then the peacock feathers, yeah, and all that, and then down there in his notes he was like, I have no idea why a boompa needs a skirt, but I guess I'll get it anyway. Because we sell something called a boompa skirt, you know. It's like, okay, boompa needs a skirt. I was very tempted to write back and said, you know, it's not a skirt, it's a kilt. Ah,
I
so
have a question that may be a little discursive. We were reading about the Syringma sisters, and
what page is that? Do you remember?
I don't know if it seems to start on
Chap-
27,
Chapter 27 and 28.
and that would be 299. So, but anyway, this is the discursive part. We do a smoke offering in the morning with the five Matsunma sisters. So these sisters, are they related at all? Matsuma and Syringma, and five sisters, is that relating to Buddha families and that kind of thing?
These are 5 indigenous spirits of those mountains,
No.
those mountain ranges. So Seringma, there's 5 of them. The main one, her name is Tashi Seringma. Then she has 4 other sisters, Miolo Zangma, Tekadro Zangma. I forgot the other 2, but 5 of them. And they are indigenous kind of mountain spirits.
And those particular mountains that we're talking about here are not a general.
Yeah, those particular, they are spirits that inhabit that area. They're like the local spirits of that area. So when they first turn up in Milarepa's life story, they were adversarial. It's not very clear if they were totally just like samsaric adversarial, but because there's always a suggestion like they know better, so they also sort of have the role of like, let's see if this guy is for real,
Right.
right? So there's a combination of they're causing harm, but they're causing harm with an eye towards or wanting to see, is this guy for real? Yes. So the broader story, at least in Tibet, of them is that apparently Guru Rinpoche already entered a pact, or bound them by his taming of Tibet, and then Milarepa is the they recommitted themselves, and it is said that eventually they became Milarepa's foremost non-human disciples. These 5 sisters. Yeah, the non-human disciples are these 5 sisters. So even though, right, Guru Rinpoche already bound them, it's interesting that they don't necessarily come happily ready to help and to assist Milarepa. Because I think this also speaks to another level, which is there, where difficulties are seen as, that which refines someone. We don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. Yeah, we think that, when you practice Dharma, you should not have difficulties. Maybe at the beginning, you need to say, please, remove the difficulties. But at a certain point, it's the difficulties that will polish us, I like to say, like polish the diamond that we are. And without that kind of polishing, the diamond doesn't become obvious. And what's the purpose of the diamond becoming obvious? So I think this comes full circle to the point that it's for the sake of others, not for the sake of the diamond, right? Yeah. If it was left to the diamond itself, the diamond probably just wants to, not be known. And no one's gonna, like yeah, no one's gonna like, need them and this and that. So if it was left to the diamond alone, the diamond is already diamond. But if the diamond is to be of any good to others beyond the diamond, then it needs to be polished. So that again, I think tells us about, right? Like the teachings about how we are already Buddha. We are really innately Buddha. So from that perspective, if you believe that strong enough, then you say, well, I'm already Buddha. It doesn't matter. So here, then what's the need for practice? Why the polishing? So that not only am I that diamond, but I'm going to be that diamond that is actually going to be of good to someone else. So not only am I Buddha, but in order for me, Buddha, to be of any use to anybody else, they need to be able to see that I am Buddha. So the polishing is for others. So with that understanding, it's like, oh, that's why we practice, So that it's not like so in fact, you should see it as, as practice, Dharma practice is not a self-improvement project. From the confused sense of self, that self cannot be improved. From the Buddha sense of self, that self doesn't need improving. Right? The confused self cannot be made better. It just needs to be abandoned. The Buddha self needs no improvement. Right? Then you're like, well, then what is practice for? Practice is for others. Because if your Buddha nature is so hidden that others can't see, then you can't really benefit others. So recently I've been talking about merit. Those of you who heard me talk about it earlier this week. So we often talk about the two accumulations, accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom. Yeah, but the accumulation of merit is what finally bears full fruition as great compassion. And so great compassion, think about it, apparently has something to do with merit. Yeah? And what is merit then? Merit is what makes it possible for us to connect with others. Without merit, there is no bridge, there is no understanding. So without this vast store of merit, Buddhas cannot benefit beings. Buddhas are able to benefit beings because of such a great and amazing store of merit that they have. So merit is that makes it possible for us to connect with others. To connect skillfully, to connect meaningfully, to connect in a way that transforms others. Yeah, so Seringma. So one of the things that Seringma says, the five sisters to Milarepa, is that your descendants, your spiritual descendants, if they will practice Dharma faithfully, seriously, We will guarantee that they do not have to experience hunger and lack. Yeah, so they are also seen as supporters of Dharma practitioners, so that Dharma practitioners who are serious about their Dharma practice don't need to be toiling and worrying over material needs. Material wants, that's something else. Material needs, I say, this, Sering, my sister say, we will fulfill those needs. So that's another significance of them. During the 2 weeks of Losar practice, the 35 Buddhas, so we were able to sponsor a one-day puja at this chapel of one of the 5 Seringma sisters in the Paro Valley in Bhutan. So Bhutan is part of that mountain range. So in the Paro Valley, there are 5 chapels dedicated to the 5 sisters. At the heart of the Paro Valley is the main sister Tashi Seringma. Then in the northern direction is the Teka Drozangma that rides on a turquoise dragon. So that chapel is under the care of one of the families in Bhutan that I know, the kind of royal family people. So it's in the same kind of residential property of the palace of the second king. I mean, in Bhutanese terms, palaces are not like, Queen Elizabeth's palace. It's a big mansion. And they're just right across from them, that palace is a chapel dedicated to the turquoise riding sister of the 5 sisters. And so we did sponsored a one-day puja there. Turns out that she apparently is the one that is related to the protection against infectious diseases.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another vaccination.
Yep. And no particular planning, or no particular it's just like, oh wow, nice. And I didn't know that this friend was joining us in the daily practice, this Bhutanese friend, until she one day was asking questions. It's like, oh, you're here. And then later we chatted. She was like, oh yeah, I've been there every day. I was like, I didn't know that you were participating. So then she offered, she said, should I do something? And it's like, oh yeah, if you can have. So that was very nice. Then to call attention to you guys on my feeding people, sharing food project. Yeah, it's called More Curry, Less Worry.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking we might raise enough for 6 months instead of just 3 months.
That's great.
Yeah. 3 months, I mean, believe it or not, it's like about $1,800 3 months. 50 meals a week. I mean, I'm not 50 a day. I mean, maybe we'll get to that point some point in the future. But 50 meals a week. And so now they have gone beyond the Bodha area, because Bodha area people are well fed enough. So I got some of the pictures. They went into a slum area, and there are groups of women and children that they were sharing food with. So now it's even more accurate to say sharing food rather than donating or giving food. It's everyone needs to eat, So instead of like so focused on, I guess, what people call, what is this term, like poverty porn, you know? Like you, there's so much like, you know, focusing on like, oh, look, these poor people. And, you know, I think that kind of skews things a little bit, as if, right, non-poor people don't have to eat. We all have to eat, you know? So there's such a basic need that we take for granted. We all have to eat. And so let's just eat. Let's just share food. So that's that project anyway. Already, someone's really suggesting to think about Cusco in Peru. It's also a very tourist-oriented place, like Boulder, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So now with tourists all gone, what about the people who survive on the tourist, you know? And so this friend, when she goes back to Cusco from here, I want her to keep an eye open and see if there are needs there. You know, these kinds of small needs that we can kind of meet. I mean, I know even in Asheville there are those needs, you know. So we give to the food bank, and there was a truck down the street from the main street here, Haywood. Every Friday, I think, is a food truck, but repurposed into pandemic times. Every Friday, starting from 2 p.m., they open up and anybody can come and get food, no questions. So there are people in the neighborhood who, not out of need, but out of normalizing sharing and giving food. I think normalizing the sharing and the giving and receiving of food is a good thing. Ja, Seringma. So, the Sunma, depending on the Tibetan, I don't know what the word is. Sunma could refer to as in Jitsunma. Tsun as in like respected, revered. That's the meaning of Tsun. So Tsunma is like the feminine of, you know, venerable.
Okay.
So it could very well be referring to the five of them.
Well, the land, are they, so the string, are they land protectors?
They are the spirits that live in those mountains.
Maybe so.
Yeah, they're translated in this liturgy as the land protectors of Tibet. So probably they are the same. You're talking about.
Yeah, like they are associated with the area, you know.
Thank
I
you.
wonder if we have Mintsumas in Arkansas.
Well, there are all sorts of entities tied to areas, you know.
Yeah.
Like my sense of like in this part of, you know, the country, in these old mountains here, it's like they are there, but they stop talking to people because people stop listening to them. There were old timers who still know how to listen to them, so they talk to them. There are, of course, Cherokee nations here that at one point they were more actively listening, so the mountain spirits were talking to them. But I think a lot of times they stop talking because people stop listening. So then what's the point, you know? So they've gone silent.
So I have friends that go out and make offerings in wild places. You know, they bring fruit and stuff and leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the idea of just acknowledging, connecting, right, with the.
Yeah. done with the attitude of like, bodhicitta,
Reverence, yeah.
then there's no problem, Done with the attitude of like, gaining influence or, having an in with them, then it's not negative, but
Right.
it has other connotations. So in one teaching, these teachings of Kyobajik and Sumgen that we've been translating, in one of the teachings he says, generally do not petition beings of the six realms to help you. He says that. He says, because then you'll be beholden to them.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that makes sense, and then because they are still in the six realms, they're temperamental, just like you and me,
They're kind of cranky, right?
Yeah, or potentially cranky, right? And then you don't know when they're cranky, right? Kind of like, what did I do? It's like, sheesh, come on, but then, yeah. And I remember I have some friends down in Cusco area, but down in the valley, at the Sacred Valley. They're from, the United States, and both of them are Karma Kagyu, very serious Karma Kagyu practitioners, but they do a lot of, their heart is in the Andes and that culture, and so they know a lot about native traditions. So they run these workshops from a farm that they bought, and so they're cultivating it, raising their own food, and they always have young volunteers coming through, and they run these workshops about, caring for the earth, things like that. And I don't know them very well, but they come to some of my teachings, and the teachers do Karma Kagyu. And actually, their main teacher is the Tuku who, probably the first Tuku to graduate from Harvard University, who wrote his dissertation on Gampopa.
Oh,
Yeah. Tungram Gyautu. Yeah, Tungram Gyautu Rinpoche. Little more low key. Him and his teacher. His teacher is this old Kempo. I don't know if the Kempo is still alive. They're a little bit more kind of low profile because they follow the other Karmapa, but they don't want to make a big deal out of it, so they kind of go, under the radar. Because if you're in the Tibetan society and you're not with the main Karmapa, it's a lot of, struggle. Yeah, so they quietly with the other Karmapa, but doing good work. Anyway, these two people, this couple. So after I've met them a couple of times in my different times going to Peru, then one time I did a 1 week personal retreat in the Sacred Valley. As it turns out, around the corner from their house, in this tiny little village. I didn't know until like the end of the retreat. So then after that, I hopped over to their house. So I asked them, I said, so how do you put it all together? So they're doing like native spirituality, the mountain deities, the apus, and all of that. I was like, so how do you put this all together? And he said, what we, and they obviously have thought about this a lot, and they said basically, they say they really respect and are very attracted to these locally based spiritual traditions where the shamans and the land and the environment are so in sync. They have seen shamans who can control the weather, no doubt about that, can tell when things are going to happen, no question about that. So they see all of that. Then I said, so why do you need Buddhism? They say, and they say, because. They say, this is all very dualistic. Me here, spirits there. So what Buddhism provides for them is a form of, you could say, transcendence. That is ultimately non-dual. Right? So even in Buddhism's non-duality, it is not a non-duality that pretends duality doesn't exist.
Right.
It's like its non-duality provides a way to relate to duality that doesn't give rise to more suffering. And so they say, like the people here, no doubt they can talk to, the land, they can talk to the spirits, but they're in a way at a mercy. If the spirits and the land, for whatever reason, is unhappy, it hits them and they suffer. So he says a lot of these local traditions are very much, you can hear the spirits, you can talk to them, you hear them, they talk to you. It's very intimate, but in the end, it's also dualistic. What the Buddha Dharma provides is a non-dual, broader context. So they say, yes, the local traditions will teach about kindness, generosity, patience, but ultimately, there is still the notion of they are real enemies, and with them, you cannot do these things. Whereas Buddha Dharma is different. So in the same way, when Milarepa encounters these spirits, they may or may not have signed on to the project, to the non-dual project. They can harm when they are upset. They can help when they feel like it, when they're in a good state of mind, So in that way, very much like you and me, Although I hope we are trying, to go beyond that, harming and helping, and understand more the dynamics of harming and helping. So, yeah.
Cool.
Questions, I obviously I don't know where we were, so I didn't prepare. But questions, good.
There's
Comments.
a paragraph towards the end of the chapter.
Okay, what page?
Stood at. Well, I have it on Kindle.
Oh, you have the E. Okay.
Location 6598. It's right towards the end of the chapter. And it starts, while Milarepa was staying there, Sringma came and investigated the Jetson. And what stands out is as he was enjoying a girl of a low class in the acacia forest, which raises questions, he saw Sringma in a white silver mirror. Then she saw him vanish into space. One of my questions is, Milarepa has a white silver mirror that he looks at while he's enjoying young girls of low class, or
you have no idea. Yeah, we have no idea what the reference is.
Okay.
I mean, the overall is like Milarepa clearly has no interest in like sexual romantic interest the way we would understand that. The overall profile of this person, you know,
Right.
we know he's like done with that. So here when they say he's enjoying a low class in the acacia forest, this is all very standard code word for things that we don't really understand.
Okay.
Like acacia forest, I have to guess, you know, like they are not available in these mountains. Like, so what is going on, you know?
Right.
Is he conjuring up this, you know? No idea. Yeah, and then this very, again, in the context of Vajrayana, low class is a standard thing, you know. The great Mahasiddhas are, you know, hanging out with low class, like prostitutes or butchers, and you know, it's like, what is this, you know? No idea. Yeah, and then like silver mirror, like what? Yeah, no. And then she saw him vanish into space, right? So already we are kind of like, okay, this is some of the reality playing out, you know, who knows what's going on. Yeah. But I think we mentioned this, and I don't know if you were at class, but at some point I said, you know, clearly with Milarepa, and this is continuous from Indian tantric tradition, he did have like you know, in person, like real bodies that he practiced like sexual yoga with. He wasn't a monk, but at his level too, it's not, again, you know, like New Age communities here talk about, you know, sexual yoga, or there is something else going on. And the Vajrayana vision includes those types of things. Although when asked, you know, the Dalai Lama says, well, you know, he's reluctant to talk about these things, but sometimes no choice, you know. He said, okay, I remember one interview where they kept pushing and pushing. He said, okay, if you really want to talk about this, he said, let's be clear about this. He says, the same traditions and texts that you guys are talking about how, you know, some powerful practitioner has to take a consort, so usually, you know, written from a man's point of view, right? And engage in like sexual practices. And then I'm gonna say, okay, first thing, the same texts say this person who wants to do this needs to be able to reverse the flow. Yeah, he says, what does that mean? Meaning he could use his penis like a straw. And he said, I have never seen, but I have heard. Part of the test is to insert a reed to the tip, through the tip of the penis, and using the reed dipped on a cup of milk and pulling up milk. He says, now you tell me how many people you have met who can do this. And he said, and so if they cannot do this, and they say to you, hey, you want to practice Tantra? I mean, Dalai Lama didn't say that, now it's me, you know. Then you're like, hold on. Why don't you show me that first? Yeah, so you ladies, anybody, yeah, comes up and say, hey, let's do some special Tantra. Hold on. Let me get a glass of milk and a reed, and then you show me that. Then I will think about it. Yes. Otherwise, you know, it's just yada, yada, yada.
That's quite a means test there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
got tickled at Jim and Mick. They looked very uncomfortable.
Oh,
Yeah, really, So here, right?
Can you offer a weekend retreat on that?
Right. Bring your own milk, though. And read. I don't know where to go find these reeds around here. Yeah, so Vajrayana have these elements. In another context, again, like Westerners, I don't know, reading a lot of things and then want to have their cake and eat it too. I just recently read one transcript where it's talking about Kala Chakra, right? So this person was trying to get the Dalai Lama to like make concessions, he said, oh, here in the Kala Chakra, it says, Kala Chakra practitioners, again, written from a male point of view, yeah, it says the Kala Chakra practitioner, it says, cannot ejaculate. So, well, we are lay people. Dalai Lama said, well, sorry, you can't do that then. And so this person said, you mean like can do what? He said, you cannot practice Kala Chakra. And so this person was like, what? He kept trying to get the Dalai Lama to give a discount and say, oh, you're a lay person, sure, you can do it halfway. The Dalai Lama said, no, I can't change what it says here. This is what it says.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, but then it's not practical. As Dalai Lama said, oh, that's not my problem. Yeah, really? He said, well, that's not my problem, In any case, I don't have the problem that you have, so you can't have your cake and eat it too,
Yeah.
Just don't practice that. There's lojong to practice. Just do that,
plenty of other practices.
So then this interviewer, you could tell, he's trying to like give another interpretation. Dalai said, no, that's not the interpretation. He's like, no, sorry.
I have a question about that same last paragraph.
Yeah.
So, like the very sentence it says, talking about Saringma, when she approached, she saw him vanish into the sky, and so she was not able to attack him. So that I was really surprised about that. So,
Oh yeah, like I've already talked about this. She's coming to like, see if this guy is for real.
is that what attack means?
Yeah. Yeah, she's not friendly at this point.
Okay.
She's very skeptical of this guy. She's, so attack, like cause problems.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is the sense, like I said, like these entities and specifically Dakinis can come and attack. And if you don't pass the test, then they said they turn into flesh-eating Dakinis. There's wisdom Dakinis, there's flesh-eating Dakinis. In Indian mythology, Dakinis before Vajrayana are simply witches, and understood to feed on human, flesh. So they say, without power, if you venture into Dakini territory, they will attack you. I think this is a much more raw sense of experience of nature. So if you don't get into this personal, right, personification, but rather like nature is, nature is nature.
Yeah.
Right? When a hurricane comes through, it doesn't care who you are, it will take you. Yeah, well, you are in Arkansas, you know about what do you call it? Not hurricanes, right?
Tornadoes.
Tornadoes, yeah. It's raw and it's powerful. And in its wake, it will sweep everything through. So if you understand also Seringma beyond like the personified aspects, it's saying, there are simply things in nature that if you know how to handle, then you can harness that to a positive use. If you don't know how, you will be destroyed. So in some ways, she is a personification of that. That's why she is so, right, beyond the story of her being tamed by Guru Rinpoche and then becoming Milarepa's disciple. If you want to read this more metaphorically, it's simply saying there are these raw powers around. Life happens, right? Are we going to suffer? Or are we going to go beyond suffering, become strong in the midst of life happening? Yeah, I think you can read on both levels. So yeah, she will attack. Oh, he will attack, then can you vanish? Yeah, the vanishing is, right? What does that mean, right? I mean, one read of that is if the self is not there, like Tai Chi, if you empty yourself, then the force that comes at you goes somewhere else. So Milarepa vanishes.
So within this chapter, there's like these two themes. One is this Kokum king trying to get him to take these gifts. And then there's this scrutiny of the Seringma sisters.
Yes.
Is there any relationship between the king and the sisters? Or
I
is it
don't
just-
remember explicitly. Does anyone see any connections? I mean, I read this chapter a long time ago, so I don't remember the specifics.
There seem to be two things going on.
Yeah. It's like on the human to human level, that's what's going on with that king. To me, it's like he's dealing with two aspects of power, The king is obviously some kind of powerful figure on the human to human level. Then Seringma's, like another kind of power over him on the more kind of unseen level. And he's handling both sides, right? One is giving gifts and the other one is giving attacks, Yeah, to that degree, you can read it as, again, it puts up a mirror for us to think about, right? When we are not seemingly, when we don't have the upper hand, you have people obligating you with their kindness, and then you have people who seemingly are coming to cause trouble.
Well, this king also wanted him to go, to come somewhere.
Yes.
So it was like there was some, I don't know, some give and take with this. Or
Yes.
there was perceived to be.
Yeah, so this king is friendly, right? But even friendly, if he doesn't know how to handle, your patrons can lead you to ruin.
Right.
Big donors, yeah.
Yeah,
So much.
remember that we spent some time this song on page 300 and 301.
Uh-huh.
And just trying to imagine that the frame of mind, having no desire for X, Y, and Z. You know.
Oh, yeah. These days, I have no desire for friends or companions. I don't seek to be surrounded by affection and love. First, I have no suffering of focusing on others. In the middle, I have no suffering of hostile replies. In the end, I don't have the suffering of parting. Having no affectionate and loving companions is excellent. Yeah, this is Milarepa, you know.
Sounds like my ex-husband.
You know, this is Milarepa, you know. And this doesn't come from not liking people, and this also doesn't come from like forcing himself to be like this. Yeah, it's not like he is practicing to become this. It is a state in his transformation that, you know, he's going through. So also you have to remember that he is unfolding his process. You know, these are different snapshots. So here is really complete kind of not having no entanglements is the main point that is made here. That's why, again, you know, Dharma teachings, if you don't know how to read, you think, oh, is that what I should aim for, you know? Yeah, so then if you are like in a depressed state of mind, and you read this, and that might give you like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what I should do. And that could lead to, you know, some problems. Yeah. Then if you are like in a good state of mind and you read that, you know, you're like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. Yeah. And then if you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, but oh, does that make me a bad person that I don't really want to be in this state of mind? No.
Is this
like that.
State of mind, DrLye, is this state of mind is this kind of explicating the experience of one taste?
Yeah, it's sort of like it matters not. Like if positive conditions arise, fine. Negative conditions arise, fine. Yeah. But it's not based on having like checked out, you know. It's not a zombie-like experience. Yes, so like the next one, it says, I'm happy with no pleasantries said about me. Like, happy, you know. We all have experience where, you know, we are fine with no pleasantries said about me. Fine. Rather than happy, you know. Here it's like, I have no more expectations. But you see, in our confused way, we only say I have no more expectations because we have been disappointed so many times. Yeah, it's a very different kind of I have no more expectations, you know. Milarepa's no more expectations is not, you know, I've been beaten down so much that, you know, now I have expectation beaten out of me. No, not Milarepa, you know. It's basically, no matter what, you know, he's joyful. Right? It's like having no certain place to stay is excellent. So not homeless, as they say now. It's home free. Home free by choice. This is at the stage of where, you know, equanimity is what's coming up for him a lot.
You know, for me, having a state like that seems further away than being able to levitate. It's so hard not to be attached.
Yeah. Now, like 302 is the opposite of, in terms of expression. 302, that song there, is the opposite of the song on 300 and 301. But they're talking about the same state. Right? 300 and 301 is emphasizing how he's fine in the midst of lack. Lacking friends and companion, fine. Lacking more abstract ideas of gaining and losing, fine. Yeah, lacking a place to call home, fine, right? Now, look at 302. So to get a full profile, so to say, of Milarepa, and then decide, do I really want to, kind of hold this guy up as like some goal to be like you, as we say, may I be like you? Well, look at 302. Now, faith is my precious wheel. What is being described here is those symbols of a great king. There are 7. A wheel, a jewel, a queen, a precious minister, an elephant, a horse, a precious general. These are the 7 symbols in the mandala offering. 7 symbols of royalty. A king possesses these 7 things. But now he's stating it like this. Faith is my precious wheel. I engage in virtuous action day and night. So here also we learn, what is the function of this thing called faith? It becomes the inspiration to engage in virtue all day, all night. Wisdom is my precious jewel. So often precious jewel is that which fulfill your wishes. Here, it fulfills the hopes of everyone, self and other. Discipline is my precious queen. She adorns me with her ravishing beauty. Meditative concentration is my precious minister. He gathers the 2 accumulations of merit and wisdom. Heedfulness is my precious elephant. It carries the great load of the Buddha's teachings. Diligence is my precious supreme horse. It carries the afflictions to the land of egolessness. Hearing and contemplation is my precious general. He subjugates the army of the enemy, wrong thinking. If you had a dominion like this, you would gain the renown and glory of a king. Always victorious over unfavorable conditions, your subjects would be incited to virtuous actions, mother sentient beings without any left out. May you fulfill this king's command. Yeah, so he's stating the same state of being as the song before that. But it sounds kind of like flat and uninteresting. Perhaps even slightly kind of depressed. Here, it's royalty. It's the same state of mind. Here is stated in terms of I have this, I have this, I have this, and I have this.
DrLye, I know that we're pretty much out of time and we
Yeah.
have to go, but I have a quick question for you if you still have a minute.
Sure.
This picture that you used in the retreat,
Yeah.
I forgot to write down who the figures are. So
So it's basically Amitabha in the Buddha figure, and with Vajrapani and Avalokiteshvara.
okay, so this is Amitabha,
Yes.
Vajrapani, and Avalokiteshvara.
Yeah. I think maybe right next to Amitabha is what does she hold? What does he or she? It's kind of ambiguous.
Looks like a little flower, maybe.
That's Avalokiteshvara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Buddha and the Bodhisattva, and then this is Vajrapani.
Yeah. Then Vajrapani is like pushing, right? Great power.
Right.
Crowbar
Okay.
or something
Okay.
like that.
And then,
It's
you
a
know,
crowbar.
then us, you know,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
being dragged to the Pure Land, so to say. Yelling and screaming, you know.
Yeah. Pleasure, Pani.
Yeah.
What? Well, that's
Amitabha.
Amitabha.
Yeah, Amitabha with Padmapani and Vajrapani. Padmapani is another name of Avalokiteshvara, the, the lotus holder.
Oh, really?
Padmapani, yeah, the holder of the lotus. Vajrapani, holder of the Vajra.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bugging me very much. I love the.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess that's it for today. And then maybe next Sunday. I think so. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So see y'all again soon. Y'all have a good rest of Sunday. It looks like spring is here.
We have
Yeah.
a great day here today. Yeah.
Beautiful weather. Yeah.
We have the next couple of nights pretty low in the 20s, but the daytimes are all, and then it's like 40s after that, the nights. Up to 70s, they say, this coming next week. So we'll see. Ta-ta.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Very
everyone.
much.
Hi.
Bye.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you again, Aisha.
Oh, good to see everyone.
Nice to see you, Aisha.